Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 28th, 2022. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's college football bowl games, look ahead to tonight, or I should say today's bowl games. College basketball, NBA, and NHL, look back on yesterday, look ahead to today. Same for soccer. Major League Baseball power rankings as the offseason still going, and then the theme being most overrated and underrated players over the last 10 years. News and notes and best bet. We'll start with the Bulls. We'll go over the results from yesterday, and we will look ahead to the 4 bowl games being played today. Camellia Bowl, Buffalo over Georgia Southern, 23-21. Buffalo finishes 7-6. Georgia Southern finishes 6-7. First Responder Bowl, Memphis over Utah State, 38-10. Memphis 7-6. Utah State finishes 6-7. Birmingham Bowl, East Carolina defeats Coastal Carolina 53-29. East Carolina 8-5, Coastal 9-4. And the Rate Bowl, Wisconsin over Oklahoma State 24-17. Wisconsin 7-6 and Oklahoma 7-6. 4 more today. 2 o'clock on ESPN, the Military Bowl, UCF and Duke. My projections for this is Duke by 4.5, total 56 3/4. And it is 3.5 and 62.5. I like the under. That's too high, in my opinion, of a total. 5:30 on ESPN, the Liberty Bowl, Kansas and Arkansas. I project the pick'em in 63 3/4. And it's 2.5 in favor of Arkansas, total 68.5. Another under. That's just a high line. And the Bulls have gone under a lot this bowl season, too. 8 o'clock on Fox, the Holiday Bowl from San Diego, Petco Park. Number 15, Oregon against North Carolina. No Noah Sewell and no Josh Downs. My projections, Oregon by a half, total 66 and 11/20. And it's 13.5 and 74.5. Whoa. Give me Carolina getting the points. That is way too many points. Plus 385 to win outright if you think that is worth it. At 9 o'clock on ESPN, the Texas Bowl, Texas Tech and Ole Miss from Houston. My line's Ole Miss by 4, total 60 3/4. Texas Tech is missing some players here. Ole Miss is favored by 3.5, total 71.5. I like the under, so give me under 71.5 in that game. All right, now I'll move on to college basketball. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to today's games. Jacksonville State over Georgia Southwest, 78-73. NJIT over St. Elizabeth, 79-51. Texas A&M over Northwestern State, 64-52. Notre Dame over Jacksonville, 59-43. Number 6, Texas over A&M Commerce, 97-72. Marquette over Seton Hall, 83-69. Texas Tech over SC State, 110-71. All right, today's games, 2 o'clock if Wilkes and Penn. We can skip 4 o'clock, Maryland Eastern and Columbia. I project Columbia by 4 3/4, total 134 3/5. And it is Eastern short by 1.5, total 136.5. Woo! Give me Columbia plus the 1.5 and minus 102 to win. 5 o'clock on the SEC Network, number 7, Tennessee at Ole Miss. My line is Tennessee by 4, total 130.5, and it is 7.5 and 127.5. I'm going to go with Ole Miss getting the points. Eastern Oregon at number 10, Gonzaga, we can skip. Central Arkansas at number 18, TCU. My line is TCU by 28 1/4, total 145 3/10. And it's 25.5 and 151.5 under. Our Lady in A&M Corpus Christi, we can skip. CBS Sports Network, UNC Wilmington Monmouth. My line is Wilmington by 14.5, total 136 7/10. And it is Wilmington by 12.5, total 134.5. Over. 6 o'clock, Albany at number 13, Virginia. My line's Virginia by 27, total 136 and 11/20, and it is 27.5 and 126.5 over. Very interesting game, in my opinion, on Fox Sports 1 at 6:30. Villanova at number 2, UConn. My line's UConn by 8.5, total 140 and 9/20, and it's 12.5 and 136.5. I'm going to take Villanova getting the points. On the SEC Network at 7 o'clock, number 19, Kentucky at Missouri. My line is Kentucky by 1.25, total 153 and 3/10. And it's 3.5 and 150.5. Over. Florida at number 20, Auburn on ESPN2. My line is Auburn 8.25, total 139 and 3/4. And it's 5.5 and 141.5. I'm going to lay the points at Auburn. Chicago State, Ball State. My line is Ball by 22.25, total 140. And it's 11.5 and 138.5. I'll lay the points at Ball State. Wichita State and UCF. My line is UCF by 7.75, total 129.25. And it is 6.5 and 124.5 over. Temple, East Carolina. My line is Temple by 2.25, total 140 and a 20th, and it is. Let's see. East Carolina by 1.5, total 137.5. The question is, do I go with Temple or do I go with the over? I'm going to take Temple plus 1.5 and plus 102 to win. Coppin State, Richmond. My line is Richmond by 24, total 148 and 4/5. And it's 13.5 and 145.5. I'm going to lay the points with Richmond. Harvard, Maine. My line is Harvard by 2.5, total 132 and 11/20, and it is 5.5 and 133.5. I'm going to take Maine getting the points. Duquesne, Dayton. My line is Dayton by 8.75, total 136.5, and it is 8.5 and 132.5 over. Davidson, Fordham on CBS Sports Network. This is going to be a good game. My line's Fordham 3.5, total 144 and 3/5, and it is Davidson by 1.5, total 142.5. Oh, baby. Give me Fordham plus 1.5 and even money to win. Ryder, Georgia. My line's Georgia by 11, total 137 and 11/20, and it is 9.5 and 136.5. I'm going to take the slight to Georgia. ESPNU, Mercer, Sanford, so a decent SoCon game. My line is Sanford by 6.75, so 144 and a 20th, and it is 1.5 and 140.5. I'm going to go lay the points with Sanford. All right, 8 o'clock. Nichols at number 12, Baylor. My line's Baylor by 26, total 149 and 17/20, and it is 20.5 and 149.5. I'm going to lay the points with Baylor. Missouri State, Northern Iowa. My line's Northern Iowa by 4, total 130 and 2/5. And it's 2.5 and 129.5. Slight Northern Iowa. Illinois State and UIC. My line is UIC by 4.5, total 137 and 13/20, and it is 1.5 and 137.5. I'm going to lay the points at UIC. Bradley, Belmont. My line is Bradley by 2.25, total 139 and a 10th, and it is 1.5 and 134.5 over. Vermont number 14, Miami canceled because of weather. 9 o'clock on ESPNU. Number 3, Houston at Tulsa. My line is Houston by 16.25, total 120 or 132 and 3/10. And it's 20.5 and 133.5. I'm going to take Tulsa getting the points. SEC Network number 8, Alabama at number 21, Mississippi State. My line is Alabama by a quarter, total 138 and 7/20, and it is a pick'em, or I should say slight. Alabama by a half. So this is essentially a pick'em, but Alabama's, I'd say, a half-point favorite in this scenario. Total 140.5. Under. ESPN2, number 9, Arkansas at LSU. My line is Arkansas by 1.5, total 139 and a tenth, and it is 4.5 and 144.5. Under. Fox Sports 1, number 22, Xavier at St. John's. My line is St. John's by 2, total 152 and 13/20, and it's Xavier by 1.5, total 162.5. Under. CBS Sports Network, Colorado State, number 22, New Mexico. My line is New Mexico by 6.5. Total 145 and 3/4. And it's 5.5 and 150.5. Under. Stanislaus State, Sacramento State, we can skip. Southern Utah and New Mexico State. My line is New Mexico State by 8 3/4, total 153 and 19/20. And it's 4.5 and 155.5. I'm going to lay the points in New Mexico State. 10 o'clock, UNLV San Jose State. My line is UNLV by 7, total 134 and 7/20, and it is 4.5 and 132.5. I'm going to lay the points in UNLV. Boise State, Nevada. My line is Boise by 5.25, total 131 and 17/20, and it is Nevada by 2.5, total 130.5. Woo! Give me Boise plus 2.5 and plus 118 to win. Wyoming and Fresno on CBS Sports Network at 11. My line is Wyoming by 8.25, total 130 and 9/10, and it is a pick'em, a real pick'em, and 126.5. Give me Wyoming in a pick'em, minus 110. And last but not least, Fox Sports 1, Air Force and San Diego State. My line is San Diego State by 17.25, so 135 and 3/4. And it's 16.5 and 129.5. I'm going to go with the over in this game. All right, now we'll move on to the NBA. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to tonight's games. Lakers over the Magic, 129-110. Wizards over the Sixers, 116-111 as their winning streak comes to an end. Celtics over the Rockets, 126-102. Pacers over the Hawks, 129-114. Clips over the Raptors, 124-113. Suns over the Grizzlies, 125-108. Thunder over the Spurs, 130-114. Maps come back from 9 down with 30 seconds to go to knock off the Knicks, 126-121 in overtime, courtesy of Luka Doncic with a historical game. 60 points, 21 boards, 10 assists. You never seen that in NBA history. Warriors over the Hornets, 110-105, and the Nuggets over the Kings, 113-106. 7 o'clock, you have the Magic and the Pistons. Projections for this game. Magic by 1.25, total 227 and a 20th, and it is 1.5 and 229. Slight under. Suns Wizards. My line is Wizards by 2, total 226 and a 20th, and it's Suns by 2.5, total 223. Give me the Wizards plus the 2.5 and plus 114. I know they won yesterday. People say it's a letdown, but no Booker worries me. 7:30 Nets Hawks. My line is Nets 3 3/4, total 227 and 4/5, and it's 6 and 235 under. NBA TV Lakers Heat. My line is the Heat by 12, total 225 and 3/5, and it's 8 and 225.5. I'm going to lay the 8 with the Heat. 8 o'clock Bucks Bulls. My line is Bucks by 7.25, total 225 and 3/5, and it is 4.5 and 232.5 under. Timberwolves Pelicans. My line is Pelicans by 8, total 230 and a 5th, and it is 6 and 234 under. 10 o'clock, Jazz Warriors. My line is the Warriors by a half, total 233 3/5, and it is Jazz by 3.5, total 233 1/2. Woo! Give me Golden State plus the 3.5 and plus 136 outright. That's crazy. And last but not least, NBA TV, Nuggets Kings. My line is Nuggets by 10 1/4, total 231 4/5. And it's 2.5 and 235 1/2. I'm going to lay the points with the Denver Nuggets on the road without Domantas Sabonis for Sacramento. All right, now move on to the NHL. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to tonight's games. Hurricanes over the Blackhawks 3-0. Caps over the Rangers 4-0. Sens over the Bruins 3-2 in a shootout. Isles over the Pens 5-1. Stars over the Preds 3-2. Leafs over the Blues 5-4 in OT on a game winner by William Nylander. Wild over the Jets 4-1. Coyotes over the Avs 6-3. Oilers over the Flames 2-1. Canucks over the Sharks 6-2. And the Kings over the Golden Knights 4-2. Sabres Jackets postponed due to weather. 5 games tonight, 7:30 or 7 o'clock. You have the Canadiens at the Lightning. Lightning minus 350. Canadiens plus 275. Over under 6. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Canadiens plus 1/2 is plus 114. Lightning minus 1/2 is minus 140. We're going to go with Montreal to hang around plus 1/2 and plus 114. 7:30 TNT Bruins Devils from the Prue Center. Pick 'em. Minus 110 each way. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 102. And there's minus 122. Bruins plus 1/2 is minus 265. Devils minus 1/2 is plus 210. I'm going with the Bruins minus 110 on the road as a pick 'em. Red Wings Penguins. Pens minus 20. Red Wings plus 180. Over under 6.5. Over is even money. And there's minus 122. Red Wings plus 1/2 is minus 152. Pens minus 1/2 is plus 124. For this one, I'm going to go with first period result, Pittsburgh Penguins plus 132. 10 o'clock, Golden Knights Ducks. Vegas minus 176, Ducks plus 146, over under 6.5, overs minus 106, unders minus 114. Vegas minus 1/2 is plus 130, Ducks plus 1/2 is minus 160. For this one, I'm going to go Vegas regulation minus 113. And last but not least, TNT, Flames Kraken. Not a bad game. I know both teams have been Kraken have fallen off a little bit. The Flames have been disappointing. The Kraken are a slight home favorite, minus 111. Flames minus 108, over under 6, minus 10 each way. Flames plus 1/2 is minus 265. Kraken minus 1/2 is plus 210. I'm going to go with the Kraken at home at minus 111. All right, now we'll do English Premier League. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to today's lone game. Chelsea over Bournemouth 2-0 and Manchester United over Nottingham Forest 3-0. One game today, 3 o'clock. It's Leeds and Manchester City. Man City is a minus 450 road favorite. Leeds is a 10-1 home underdog. The draw is plus 450. I'm going to go over 3.5 goals, minus 110 for this game. All right, now we'll do French League One as they are back in action after the World Cup. Right now, 2 games at halftime. AC Ajaccio over Angers 1-0, and then Troyes and Nantes 0-0 at halftime. 11 o'clock, you have Auxerre and Monaco. So Monaco right now is in 6th, and Aux is the 17th. Monaco minus 175. Hawks is plus 430. Draw plus 310. I'm going to go under 2.5 goals plus 134. By the way, let's do some live bets on the two going on right now. AC Ajaccio and Angers halftime. Ajaccio is minus 300 favorite. Angers is plus 950 and draws plus 320. Neither of these teams are good. I'm going to go with the draw live bet plus 320. And then Troyes is plus 290. Nantes is plus 155. The draw is plus 140. I'm going to go with the draw here too, plus 140. 1 o'clock, you have Claremont and Lille. Lille's minus 135. Claremont's plus 370. Draw plus 250. I'm going to go with the draw plus 250. I think that game could be close. 3 o'clock, Brest and Lyon. Lion's an even money favorite. Brest plus 260. Draw plus 250. We can go with Lyon as the even money favorite at even money. And PSG and Strasbourg. PSG is a monster favorite, 6-1. Strasbourg's 10-1. Draw plus 550. For this one, we're gonna go under 3.5 goals at minus 118. All right, now club friendly. There's only one game going right now, and it's almost over. Feyenoord over Emmen, 5-0. And then we have one more friendly tomorrow, Sassuolo and Inter Milan. We'll do that on the podcast tomorrow. All right, MLB Power Rankings. We haven't done this since the season. But the themes have been all week, most overrated and underrated players on each team over the past decade. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 30 is the Washington Nationals. Overrated, Patrick Corbin, just a terrible free agent signing, even though they won the World Series. And underrated, Jason Worth. That guy was a really good veteran for that team. And really helped that franchise get out of the abyss. Number 29, the Oakland Athletics. Overrated, Jeff Samardzija, a guy that got the trade deadline from the Cubs a while back. Didn't work out. And underrated, Blake Trinan, their old closer, who is so good and so money in the 2018 season for them. Number 28 is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Overrated, Gregory Polanco. Overhyped prospect, never panned out. And underrated, Jacob Stallings, who they ended up trading to the Marlins. Number 27, the Cincinnati Reds. Overrated, Mike Moustakas, just a really terrible free agent pickup for them. Never worked out. And underrated, Sonny Gray. He was somebody that really pitched well for the Reds. Number 26, the Kansas City Royals. Overrated, Raul Mondesi. Just an overhyped prospect. And underrated, Lorenzo Cain. He really, I feel, is an underappreciated Royals player, especially in the back-to-back World Series appearances in the win in 15. Number 25 is the Detroit Tigers. Overrated, I have Michael Fulmer. Good starter, and he just was inconsistent after. And then underrated, J.D. Martinez, who they gave away literally for not a lot. Number 24, the Colorado Rockies. Overrated, Kyle Freeland. To me, he just hasn't put it together. And underrated, I'm going to go with Trevor Story. He was a really good Rockies player. I thought he was overshadowed by guys like Nolan Arenado. And I know the Red Sox overpaid him and everything, but he was a really good player on the Rockies. Number 23, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Overrated, Justin Upton. Bad contract. Past his prime player. And underrated, Garrett Richards. He was like an ace for them for a little bit. Number 22, the Miami Marlins. Overrated, D. Gordon. I'm just not a fan of him as a player. And his game was speed only. And underrated, I gotta say JT Realmuto. You could argue they should have never traded him. And then now he has really put himself on the map after he was dealt to Philadelphia. Number 21, the Chicago Cubs. Overrated Addison Russell. Highly touted prospect who turned out to be a bust. And underrated Kyle Hendricks. I just think that Hendricks is just underappreciated, especially during their championship run. He was underrated in my mind. Number 20, the Boston Red Sox. Overrated Chris Sale. Gave up, at the time, people thought a lot to get him. I know they won a World Series with him. It's like Corbin in the NL, except Sale hasn't been as bad as Corbin. He's just always hurt. And he was only great for Boston for 2 years. And then underrated Steve Pearce. He was a big part of their championship in 2018. And I just think he's an underappreciated player, period. Number 19, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Overrated Madison Bumgarner. Mad Bum really overhyped free agent signing and turned out to be a massive bust. And underrated Ketel Marte, currently still on the team. He's just a fun all-around player to watch. Number 18, San Francisco Giants. Overrated Joe Panic. The Giants thought that this guy was going to be their star second baseman in the future. Never really panned out. And underrated Pablo Sandoval. I say this because of how good he was in their World Series runs in the past. Number 17, the Minnesota Twins. Overrated Byron Buxton. To me, he's probably baseball's most overrated player, period. Because people put him in the same breath as Aaron Judge and Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. He's nowhere close. And he's never healthy. And then underrated, I'm going to say Jorge Polanco. Really, really solid hitter, and I think people downplay him because he got suspended that 1 year. Number 16, the Texas Rangers. Overrated Jurickson Profar. The Rangers thought he was going to be this kick-ass guy. Never was. And underrated, I have for them Adrian Beltre, only because he was just such a really great superstar player and never got mentioned in the same breath as the guys from his era, like Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera. Number 15, the Baltimore Orioles. I'm really big on the Orioles coming up in the future, so that's why they're this high. Overrated Chris Davis, had 2 big years and was really, really bad. And really just stole money from the Orioles. That was such a terrible contract. And underrated, I have J.J. Hardy. I just think that J.J. Hardy was a player that really showed up in big games for them in that Buck Showalter era. Number 14, the Milwaukee Brewers. Overrated, I have Christian Yelich. He had those 2 great years, but he really hasn't done much since. And underrated, I have Trent Grisham, who, looking back, they probably shouldn't have traded. Number 13, the Chicago White Sox. Overrated, I have Yoan Moncada. Just never lived up to the hype. And underrated, I have Jose Abreu. Really, really great player for them. I know he's on the Astros now, but he was only rewarded one MVP in all those years that he was just raking in Chicago. Number 12, the Tampa Bay Rays. Overrated Willie Adames. They thought he was the next shortstop of the future. They got him in the David Price deal. And then, no, they traded him. And underrated, I have Kevin Kiermaier. Just left as a free agent. Really, really solid center fielder for them, and occasionally would come up with a big hit. Number 11, the Cleveland Guardians. Overrated, I have Bradley Zimmer because he was just an overhyped prospect. Never made it. And underrated, I have Jason Kipnis. He was so good for Cleveland last decade. And I just think that he's underappreciated by people in baseball and his old teammates. Number 10, the Toronto Blue Jays. Overrated Troy Tulowitzki. They made the big trade for him in 2015. Never really worked out. And underrated, Justin Smoke. Always would come up clutch for them at times through the years. Number 9, the St. Louis Cardinals. Overrated, Paul DeJong. He was really good for a few years, but he just fell off the face of the earth. And underrated, Michael Wacha. I really thought Michael Wacha was a great Cardinal. Number 8, the Seattle Mariners. Overrated, Robinson Cano. Gave him the big money free agent deal. Didn't work out, and then traded him to the Mets. And had to attach Edwin Diaz to do it. And underrated, Kyle Seager. Really underrated player, in my opinion. Number 7, the Philadelphia Phillies. Overrated, I have Maikel Franco. They thought he was the third baseman of the future, but he flamed out. And underrated, I have Abdul Herrera. Really solid center fielder, off-field stuff aside. Number 6, the New York Yankees. Overrated, Aroldis Chapman. Say what you want. Bad behavior off the field. But to me, he was just overrated. Just coughed up moments in big games for the Yankees through the years and was always hurt, it felt like. And underrated, I have Brett Gardner because he was always so clutch with big hits and made some big catches in the outfield. Number 5, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Overrated, Kenley Jansen for the same reasons as Chapman. Just overpaid, used in big spots and never had other than 2020 in the COVID year. Jansen just couldn't get it done in big spots. And underrated, Justin Turner, someone that would consistently come up with big hits for LA. Number 4, the San Diego Padres. Overrated, I have James Shields. Signed him to a big money deal as a free agent. But the good thing is that they traded him for Fernando Tatis Jr. That's an all-time robbery of a trade. And underrated, Yonder Alonso, a player that I feel bad for because he was hurt at times and wasn't getting the proper playing time for the Padres. Number 3, the New York Mets. And this ranking is the ranking without Carlos Correa. With Carlos Correa, they're at a different number. Overrated, Noah Syndergaard. I just think that Thor didn't live up to the hype. And underrated, Jeff McNeil, still on the team, gets big hits. Really versatile player. Number 2, the Houston Astros. Overrated, Ken Giles. I just think he's an overrated closer, period, end of story. And came up small for the Astros in big games, too. And underrated, I have Michael Brantley. I know he wasn't healthy this past year. And just a really good veteran to have. And number 1, the Atlanta Braves. Overrated Jason Hayward. We know that deal never really panned out to what people thought he was going to be. And underrated, I have Evan Gattis because he was just a really solid catcher for Atlanta, and he's been in the playoffs. He went to the playoffs with the Braves a few times as well. So there you have it for the power rankings. And now it's time for the news and notes of the day. All right. So a change in Washington as Taylor Heineke is benched for Carson Wentz as they fight for an NFC playoff spot. I really don't know if I like this move. They were better with Heineke. I think that he was just the easy fall guy. No suspension for Derwin James after his hit on Ashton Doolin that led to his ejection on Monday night. So Bethune-Cookman hired Ed Reed to become their football coach. Interesting. I think that a lot of schools are going to start hiring these big name ex-players because of how well it worked out with Deion Sanders. Aaron Rodgers has an interesting take on Tua Tagovailoa. He says that he should consider shutting it down for the season and says, I just hope he gets the right help. But yeah, this is literally the third time he got concussed this year. And, or third time in concussion protocol, I should say. And Tua does need the help. I agree with Rodgers, but I don't think that he should sit the rest of the season because the Dolphins are still in contention. But I say that assuming that he's not concussed. If he is concussed, it's a different story. All right, so some basketball. We talked about Luka Doncic with the 60-20-10 game. One of the greatest games you'll ever see. And then one more football note, J.J. Watt retiring at the end of the year. And he's playing good football, too. Great career for J.J. Watt. And I think that, honestly, this is a little premature. Kind of reminds me of Gronkowski when he retired for the first time. And then Luka, after his big night, he said, I need a beer. I thought that was funny. And Twitter obviously was going nuts about that game. But the Mavericks may not win that game if Jalen Brunson did not, or if Jalen Brunson did play, or if R.J. Barrett was not ruled out with a finger injury during the game. So the Knicks lost 2 starters in that game. And if those 2 guys play, the Knicks probably win that game by double digits, and Luka doesn't have the moment. But it is what it is, as we always say, and Luka took advantage of the situation, took advantage of the Knicks being sloppy at the end of the game, and some inexperienced guys in crunch time like Miles McBride, and they win. And he was great. Easily the best player on the court, and that was probably the best individual performance in the league all year. There were some rumors going around that Scoot Henderson will sit the remainder of the G League season because of a nasal fracture. And then he played in the opener last night. And we forgot to mention Trae Young left the game against the Pacers due to a left calf contusion. Torrey Krug placed on injury reserve for the St. Louis Blues, and Tyler Tucker recalled from Springfield. The Atlanta Braves extend Sean Murphy 6 years, $73 million, as the Braves shell out money for yet another player. And the Texas Rangers signed Nathan Eovaldi to a 2-year, $34 million deal. Nice signing for Texas. Texas is stacked in that rotation. I think they established themselves as the third best team in that division behind Houston and Seattle. And they're going to be ahead of Oakland and the Angels. So in the rotation now, they have DeGrom and Evaldi to go with Martin Perez and some other guys that they have as well. That's a really good top three in that rotation. That team is stacked. In terms of the middle infield and in the top of that rotation. And then there are 10 convicted in the David Ortiz attack, as Dominican courts have convicted and sentenced 10 of the 13 people accused of attempting to murder David Ortiz in 2019. All right, best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. Tough one. I'm going to go with a bowl game. And I'm going to go with a total. And by the way, best bet yesterday was a winner with the Carolina Hurricanes first period bet. I like a lot of the unders, and then there's one I really like, and that's Carolina getting 13.5 against Oregon. So I'm going to lay a half unit on that. For my best bet of the day. All right, so that's it for the show. As I'll be back recapping all the bowls and looking ahead to everything going on tomorrow, including this Thursday night football finale between the Cowboys and the Titans. So I hope you guys have a great day, everyone.